I'm joining you today in the United States. I'm in Delaware on the East Coast of the United States, and I'm currently unemployed. I am transitioning from the military into the resilience business continuity arena,
Okay.
and so currently actively looking for roles. And what else did you ask? And so that's where I'm at. That's where I'm from, and yeah, so I'm just here to learn. The presentation is very on point for me as a new entrant into the field. So
Okay, okay, that's good. That's good. And you're going to really take a lot of lessons. You're going to learn more about organizational resilience and business continuity. I hope that would, give you further um introduction and also to amplify what you need to know when it comes to the resilience culture of an organization. Thank you again, Wes, for joining us today. Okay, who else wants to go? Again, let me check the chat box if there's any.
Maybe I should take the chance.
Okay, thank you, Thomas.
Thomas, my name is Thomas Schürmann
Good to see
from
you.
Germany. I was working as a consultant and auditor in different areas like information security management, business continuity management, and so on. But I'm getting old now. I'm retired and I'm only working as a trainer, and I'm working on on a workbook for practitioners for business continuity management. I'm familiar with 22,301, but I'm not familiar with other sources for
The
business continuity
BCI,
management.
okay.
So I'm interested in all these things. Thank you.
Oh, okay, thank you again, Thomas. Thank you for sharing. And another person, I see Mahesh on the call. I see Easy there. I hope I pronounced it very well. Would you like to take the floor? Just let us give us your name, where you're joining us from, and what you hope to take from today's webinar. Anyone? Oh, okay. I'm sure they would join us. Maybe they are on the call, but not on the call. Anyways, we're going to start very soon. Again, for those who are just joining us, my name is Bukola Bamidele, and I'll be moderating today's session on organizational resilience and business continuity. Um, in today's environment, we understand that resilience is no longer a back office function, it's now a boardroom priority. Organizations right now are being challenged not just to respond to disruptions, but also to anticipate, absorb, and adapt in real time. And with the emerging, AI taking over a lot of functions and organizations, businesses, board members, top executives, top management need to, ensure that the effect of artificial intelligence does not disrupt the business, right? So today we are going to explore these through two globally recognized lenses, because at Certified Jersey we're all about compliance, global frameworks, and also global standardization. And so we're going to be looking at these from two global recognized lenses. The first one is the ISO 22301 that speaks to the business continuity management systems, right? It talks about the standardization of how organization can standardize their business continuity plans for the organization. And we're also going to be looking at it from the Business Continuity Institute Good Practice Guidelines, which we call the BCI GPG. Okay, is somebody excited? I'd like to see your emojis just to know that we are still together. Oh, I can't see any emojis. Are we still together? Thank you, West Chandler. Thank you. Thank you. Please hold in your response so I can know that we're together, right? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Don't be disalarmed. I'm sure more people is going to join us as we continue, but we don't want to keep us waiting on the call. So before I introduce, we're going to be having two facilitators to facilitate this event. But before I introduce them, I would just like to set the expectations for today's session. First, we're going to cover the ISO 22301 from a management systems and certifications perspective. And then we'll then move to BCI GPG, where we'll be focusing on practical implementation. And then we will close with questions and answers. So please, while you're listening to the facilitators and you have any questions, just note it down. And during the Q&A sessions, we'll be happy to take your questions, either through chat or, unmuting your by speaking about it. So we're going to go right into our first presentation. And so I'm going to introduce our first facilitator, Adeyinka Jegede. I'm going to be reading his profile very soon. So he's going to be taking us through the ISO 22301. Okay, thank you. So here's our speaker. You can see he's very handsome. So as we like to call him, Prof. Adeyinka Jegede is a GRC expert and consultant. He's also a seasoned information systems professional and GRC thought leader focused on helping organizations manage risk, ensure compliance, and build trust. With extensive experience in audit, cybersecurity, business continuity, governance, and data analytics, it delivers resilient strategic solutions that support organizations in a rapidly evolving digital landscape. His work spans multiple industries and regions, including Africa, the Americas, Europe, the UK, and Australia. He is also a first-class graduate of the University of Lagos with an MBA. He also holds certifications such as CISR and CDPSC, and also a platinum level ISACA member, actively contributing to thought leadership, mentorship, and global discussions in GRC and IT governance. Wow, so you can see that you are in a very good hands. So please, let's join me to warmly welcome Adeyinka as he takes the floor. Please, can I see some virtual clap, virtual excitement? Oh, thank you, Wes. Oh, I think I'm loving it. Thank you, Wes. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you. I like the encouragement from both of you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mahesh. Oh, Mahesh, now you're here. Good to see you. Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. Over to you, Adeyinka.
Thank you. Thank you, Bukola. And it's my pleasure to be here. Welcome to this session. I believe we would learn from this session, no matter where you are at in your journey, whether you're an expert or you are a new entrant or somebody looking to begin the journey. So today we'll be talking about business continuity. And I will just share my screen. Let me know when you can. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we'll be talking about building a resilient business continuity management system, or BCMS, with ISO 22301. So I chose a cat as my avatar, or a symbol of resilience. And why cats? I'll try and make this as interactive as possible. How many lives do we all know that the cat has? How many lives?
9 lives.
Nine lives. So the cat has 9 lives. All right. And why is that? Why they say cat has 9 lives? Anyone can put it in the chat. Why is it commonly, said that cat has 9 lives? Okay, well, so it's based on the land on their feet. Yes, they land on their feet. No matter how, I used to have a cat. So one day I said, I'm going to test whether this cat is I'll be able to drop the cat and then they will land on their back. So I picked the cat, I took it very close to the floor, and I released the cat. Then it twisted, because their makeup, the physiology, the anatomy of the cat does not allow, it's built into the cat to always twist, and they land on their feet. So that is the kind of resilience that have been built into the cat. And as businesses, we must build similar resilience into our operation. In July of 2022, something happened in Canada. And where I'm located in Ontario, Canada, by the way. So something happened in Canada. A major telco, Rogers, had an outage, and a lot of businesses were crippled. We couldn't call 911. Interact is a major payment system. It went down. People working from home couldn't work. Everything just went down because one telco, went down. And what happened is an interesting story. It affected roughly 12 million customers, and businesses suffered a lot of loss. It's estimated that $142 million, was lost in that single day. And Rogers credited customer with a value of $150 million and committed to a $20 billion investment to improve their infrastructure over the next 5 years. What really happened in that incident? They were doing an upgrade of the system. It's a 7-phase upgrade. They were on the 6th step of the upgrade. And then that happened, where the infrastructure, was disrupted, and there was a nationwide outage because one of the employees, removed the access control flag that was supposed to control the influx of traffic. So they have the wireless service, and then they have the wired service, they have internet. All of these, I'm going to share the link. Is public information. You can go read about it. All of these services, plug into a core IP. And in that core IP, there's supposed to be a control that says, for example, I'm just going to make it as literal as possible. If 150,000 connection has come in, then it should stop the connection, into that IP. So a staff removed the control that would stop that connection. And then all the connections over, let's say, 12 million connections came into the server, and then it crashed the server. Now, there was a backup somewhere To get to that backup, they needed to communicate to the staff located in that place to let them know that something is going on. Now, the line they will use to communicate with them is also a Rogers line. So they couldn't communicate with the staff to activate the remote backup and pick up the service. So they had to there was no way to reach them. They had to physically travel to go tell those people to then activate the backup. So it was a big learning. Now that is Rogers. The customers that are dependent on Rogers as their only source of internet provider or phone service, all of them, this lasted for around 26 hours. So the whole day, any organization that depended on them could not operate. And this brought to fore the importance of having redundancy and backup appropriate. All right. If you, like this revealed, have backup that is relying on the same infrastructure. If that infrastructure goes down, then you can't reach your backup. So it's as good as not having backup, right? So the cost of disruption goes beyond the monetary value. It could involve loss of life, and so many other things. So that is why it is important that organizations take business continuity very, very seriously. It is estimated, according to Gartner, that there's a $5 million loss per hour in a downtime cost in finance, healthcare, or government sectors. And as important as this is, companies have business continuity plans. Some don't have. The ones that have, are they properly set up? Right. And if disruption happens, can they fall back on the continuity plan that they have? That's why the international standard for business continuity have requirements and stipulates guidelines and guidance that you can implement to set up a resilient system. Means that in the face of disruption, your business can continue, right? And there will be minimal impact on your business as it has been, set out in your plan. So the ISO standard is concerned not only about resilience, but also about security. It's security, combination of security and resilience that this standard talks about. So let's look at some definitions. What is business continuity? This is based on the definition of ISO 22313 and 22301. It's the capability of the organization to continue delivering products or service at acceptable, note these words, capability to continue, right? And it is at an acceptable predefined capacity. So when you are putting your plan in place, you must set what is acceptable for your organization. That's why ISO standards are designed to be applicable to any size of organization. So no matter your size, if you're a one-man business, you can apply ISO standards. If you are a 10,000, 20,000 size organization, you define what is acceptable to you and you run by it when disaster happens. So that is business continuity. So what is business continuity management? the management is a process of implementing and maintaining business continuity in order to prevent loss and then prepare for and mitigate and then manage disruption. So the process is a systematic, management is a systematic way of implementing and maintaining business continuity so that you can prevent the loss and prepare to mitigate the loss, and then you manage the disruption if it happens. So the system where you use to run a business continuity management is called the BCMS, right? It enables organizations to control, evaluate, and continually improve its business continuity. The key word here is control, evaluate, and continually improve. There's something about ISO standard that I love is you can start with what you have and where you are, but don't stay there. Continual improvement. That is something about ISO standard, continual improvement. You can be where you are today, but don't stay there. And if anything goes wrong, take learning from it. In the case of Rogers, there was a full document on the corrective action that they took from the incident that happened in 2022. It's public, okay? At the end of the presentation, I'm going to share the link with you. You can go read it up, what they learned and what they put in place. One of the things that happened during that process is that they had a risk management. I mean, they had a risk assessment that had flagged that particular process of reducing, removing the access control. They had flagged it as a high impact. But because they've done stage 1 to stage 6 and nothing happened, then they reduced the rating of that particular risk. And that's why there was no escalation that was done before the access control flag was removed. And that caused a major catastrophe. So it's something that you must continually improve. Now, with that learning, that incident, they learned that even if we have set a risk to be high and all these processes that have happened before that particular step did not flag anything high, we still leave it as high until the entire process is completed. Okay? Now, so the business continuity management system that ISO 22301 presents is a certifiable system. What's a certifiable system? A certifiable system is a set of requirements that set what organization must put in place, and then there is an independent assessment of what has been put in place. Typically, the way a certifiable ISO standard works is there will be a set of guidelines or set of requirements. I'm going to get to that, but in ISO, you have guidance, you have guidelines, and then you have requirements. When a standard sets requirement, then these are mandatory provisions that must be done before you can attain certification. So ISO 22301 is a certifiable standard, and it has a set of requirements that organizations must meet before they can be certified. Now, there is a cycle. I talked about continual improvement. You start where you are, but you don't stay there. The ISO 22301 follows a cycle called the PDCA cycle. That is plan, do, check, act. Right. Plan, do, check, act. And it's a continual cycle. So it continues from when you define the objective, define your processes, define the context of the organization, then you do implement the plan that you have started, through what is called, there are different things. I'm going to go into details of it. The BI is called the business impact assessment. You set your strategy, you plan your risk assessment, and then you test your implementation, and then check. You measure what you have, you monitor what you have done through internal audit. You measure against the objective that you have set, that the system that I've put in place, is it meeting my objective? All right. And then if you find any gap, you go to act, you improve on what you have done. And when you want to improve on what you have done, you plan your improvements. You plan your improvements, then you implement what you have planned. Check again if it aligns with what you wanted to achieve. If it doesn't, or if it does, or it may even show another opportunity to improve. Right. In ISO audits, the audit process is, after you have put in place your system, an external person will come before you're certified, will check your system and say, okay, let's check what your organization has put in place. Does it align with the requirement of this standard that you want to certify to? If everything aligns, you get certified. If a few things don't align, you get an opportunity to fix it, and then you get certified. Even if everything aligns, the auditor may identify some areas, and they will give you what is called opportunity for improvement. So it is a continual improvement cycle when it comes to the ISO standard. So let's get a little bit deeper into the structure of the ISO 22301. Like I said, it's a document. It used to be called a standard, but now it's called requirement document. So there is a physical document called the ISO 22301. Let me see if I can just show you that. So this is the, you see, ISO 22301. It's a standard a requirement, right? Security and resilience. That's the title of the standard. Business continuity management system requirement. So this sets the requirement of the things that you must put in place as an organization before you can be certified to the standard. Usually there are 10 clauses, and they are mandatory requirements for certification. There are 10 clauses, and these are the 10 clauses in that physical document, right? You have the scope, normative reference, and then terms and definition. That is clause 1 to 3. Those are just foundational. It just provide information, gives you terms, definition of terms, the scope of what it covers, and that's about it. Nothing really serious for you as an organization to note. But from clause 4 to clause 10, that is where the work is. Everything from clause 4 to clause 10 are mandatory. There are things that you must put in place if you want to get certified to ISO 22301, which is the global standard for business continuity management. Clause 4 talks about context of the organization. What are you doing? What are the issues? What business are you doing? what aspect of your business do you want to cover such that when disruption happens, you can continue doing business. All right. What are the interested parties? Who are the interested parties? Interested parties are could be internal, could be external. Who are your dependent parties? Who does your business depend on? Just as we started with the incident of Rogers. Rogers will be an interested party external to an organization that uses Rogers as their internet service provider. So when you are setting your context, right, you must take Rogers as an interested party into consideration. Because if you don't, you're going to suffer unexpected disruption. If you don't consider that, all right, so Rogers is an external party. They are our sole internet provider. What if your internet provider, which is sole Rogers goes down, right? Then you have to get an alternative provider. All right. So it is when you are setting the context that you list all the interested parties, your internal and external factors, your usually you can use special, political, environmental. So you just set all the things that connect to your organization, while things that can affect your business continuity. And then the BCMS scope, you can have an organization and you don't want to set business continuity for the entire organization. So you can decide which part of the business you want the continuity to cover. All of this is set in the BCMS scope. All right, so I'm just running through this because of the time. I mean, this is it's a lot, right? But just giving you a high level overview. The leadership commitment in clause 5 defines top management commitment. In an Excel or harmonized framework of ISO, these layouts, these clauses are similar. And this is done deliberately so that you can have a consistent layout, and then you can harmonize or implement multiple standards at the same time. And they can have like interrelationship, right? So the leadership commitment is very important. The leadership must give a nod that they support the BCMS. So it's not just the BCMS managers' business alone or IT issue or IT problem. The leadership, top leadership must provide documented evidence of their support for the initiative. And this is done through policy, business continuity policy approvals, defining roles and responsibilities, approving business continuity budget, and all of that. So this is very, very essential. Like I said, if you are interested to certify to an ISO standard, these clauses are mandatory. You must comply by them if you want to certify. You can set you can implement a standard without certifying to the standard. Okay, the standard is publicly available at a price, of course. So you can purchase the standard, follow all the requirements, implement your business continuity, and you don't seek certification, that's fine, right? Provided it works for you, that's okay. But if you are seeking certification, so that's what we're talking about, certifiable system. If you want a credential to say, I am certified to ISO 22301, then you must. These clauses are mandatory. You must. Then clause 6 talks about planning. So these are actions to address risk and opportunities, and then you set a business continuity objective. Just like in the case of the Rogers incident, there was risk assessment, but somewhere along the line, they dropped the rating of the risk, and then that happened. So in business continuity, you must identify what are the risk areas in that would affect, what are the risks that will affect the business continuity of this organization. So you identify all those risk areas, and then you plan to address the risk and opportunities, as well as set the objective. What are the things, what are the objectives that we'll try to achieve by implementing a business continuity? Clause 7 talks about support. In support, you're talking about resources, competence, awareness, communication, and documented information. Resources, the top management must be committed to providing resources that will be required to implement a resilience business continuity. And you must have competent people who understand how to implement the business continuity management system. And you must also create awareness within the organization. Everybody in the organization must be aware that we have a business continuity process or policy, and it is through communication that this is also done. You plan your communication. When there's disruption, who should inform internal stakeholders and external stakeholders? What is the timeline between incident and communication? So you define all of that, and you have everything also documented. You must have documented information, your policies, your procedures, everything that affects your business continuity must be documented. That is under support. Then, so all of these from 4 to 7 are planning, right? In the PDCA cycle. Then in the do, that's the operation. In operation here, we talk about the BIA, business impact assessment, and this is this is very, very critical in business continuity. If you don't define your BIA, then a poorly defined BIA is almost a ticket to a failed business continuity implementation. So you must have your BIA properly executed. Now, in 6, we talk about risk assessment. The risk assessment that clause 6 talks about is the risk that affect the business continuity as a whole. Now, in the risk assessment in clause 8 is the risk assessment that affects the business impact assessment. So in the operation, you talked about your business impact assessment, your risk assessment as affect the BIA. You set your business continuity strategy, which is the strategy is the how of the outcome of the BIA. So the business impact assessment sets, all right, so these are the things that will, the impact that a disruption will have on the business. The BC strategy or business continuity strategy talks about how do we implement the business continuity that we have determined as necessary from our business impact assessment, right? Then in operation, it also talks about the business continuity plan and the procedure. So once you have done with your planning, you go to the operation, then you come to check. So that is performance evaluation. It is mandatory if you want to get certified. I'm emphasizing that so that it's not confused with a regulatory requirement. It is not a regulatory requirement. Is it a choice? It's an option if you want to certify. And why would you want to certify when it is optional? When you want to do business with an organization and an organization tells you that, yeah, I have a business continuity plan, and you ask that, okay, can you show me evidence of your business continuity plan? And then they show you their document and all of that. And then another organization comes and say, okay, I have a business continuity plan. Can you show me evidence of a business continuity plan? They also show you the same document, and then they went ahead to say, okay, this is not just that our words against yours, but we have been independently audited and vetted by an external body to say that our business continuity plan has been confirmed to conform to this international standard. So it just gives that additional assurance to an interested party, and also gives you that assurance that what you have done conforms to the standard. So that's why most organizations go for certification, is for business expansion, for increased assurance and all of that. So for performance evaluation, you have your monitoring, you have your internal audit, and then you have the management review. These are mandatory. These are the things that the auditor will check when they are auditing you for certification. Then ACT, improvement, non-conformity, corrective actions, and continual improvement. Non-conformity are deviations from the requirements, right? The requirement says, and the organization shall have documented information, and when or shall conduct a business impact assessment. So an auditor comes and says, can you show me the evidence of your business impact assessment? And you are not able to show the evidence of the business impact assessment, that is a non-conformity. Non-conformity also have categories. You have major non-conformity, you have minor non-conformity, and then if you want to be certified, you cannot be certified with a major non-conformity. You may get certified with a minor non-conformity, but you must show evidence of your corrective action plan, depending on what the certification body decides. You must show your corrective action plan, that this is the plan that I have to make all this correction, and then the certification body can decide that, all right, so in 6 months, we're going to check again, and if that doesn't happen, we can revoke your certification. So improvement, corrective action, and then continual improvement. That is ACT. Okay. If you have questions, just be noting them. I'm going to take them after. Okay. For the ISO language, the document uses specific language when you are reading it so that you understand what it means. It uses words like shall, should, may, or can. When you see shall, as with requirements, such as 22301, it's mandatory. All right, it must be done, and it is auditable. So it indicates a strictly followed requirement to conform to the standard. When you see should is recommendation. Organization should, it's not mandatory, but it's given like an advice. This is how you should do this. Should, used mostly in guidance and guidelines documents. Guidance and guidance document, I'm going to explain the next slide, are for ISO 22301, there is ISO 22313, which is a guidance on ISO 22301. So 22301 will just give you the high level organization shall do this, organization shall do that. Then 22313 explain how, or gives you an advice on, explain further what the intention is for every clause. Okay, and for any organization that want to implement ISO 22301, I personally recommend, I always recommend to my clients that because these standards could be, it could cost some money. I think average cost of each of these standards is about 400 Canadian dollars. So you also you may not be able, maybe you don't want to spend like $2,000 just buying the standards, the documents alone. But start with the 22301 and the 22313 at least, because the 22313 explains the how of the or the intention of the authors of the standards or the requirement document. You also have may. You can see may. Those are permissive. You are allowed to do this. Or you have can. Can is possibility, like in clause 8431. Organization can document and maintain procedures for how and under what circumstances the organization communicates with employee and their emergency contacts. So that is advisory, all right? But in clause 8, it says you shall maintain, all right, a documented information, or you shall have a documented process to restore and return, right? So this is just a possibility of what you can do. All right, so take note of this when you are looking at the various documents. So I just give a brief guide on what guidance is. We have guidance document like 22313. You have guidelines document like 22317, which provide guideline on implementation of business impact assessment, how to conduct business impact assessment. So guidance usually follow a requirement document, like 22313 is a guidance on how to read 22301. Why 22317 is guidelines on how to implement business impact, or how to conduct a business impact assessment. Requirements they are normative, there's no flexibility. It must be met if you want to get certified. I always emphasize that because I saw a comment that on the chat that it is advisory. Of course, that's absolutely correct. But if you want to get certified, you must meet those standard requirements. So if you want to comprehensively implement your ISO 22301, the business continuity management, these are family of standards that will help you have a complete view of the implementation cycle. You have the 2313, which is guidance, like I mentioned, the how, and it's a companion to 22301. You have the 316, which is organizational resilience. It gives you the principles and attributes of resilient organization. 2317 is guidelines for business impact assessments. And then 22331 is a guideline for business continuity strategy, which is the how. So you use 2317 for business impact assessment, and then you use 22331 for implementing the outcome of the business impact assessment. All right. Okay, so I will just round up now. So I would quickly give like so I've covered all of these. An important part of business continuity management is the BIA. And in the BIA, two things that are very important is to determine what is called the MTPD, which is the maximum tolerable period of disruption. This is the time where after which, activities, if you go beyond this, then the organization is gone. So you must identify your MTPD and then your RTO. Your RTO is the recovery time objective. So the minimum time that you must resume business before you reach your MTPD. All right. So I just need to mention that those are very critical in setting your during your business impact assessment. Okay. Let me go quickly to a roadmap. If you want to implement this in a 12-month period, okay, practical recommendation. This is not cast in stone. The first 2 months, you initiate and scope. Another 2 months, you do your established foundation. Then between the 3rd and 5th month, you analyze. That's when you conduct your BIA, consult ISO 22317 and perform your risk assessment, set your MTPD, your RTO and RPO, and then you design in the 5th and the 8th month and implement all the things that have come out from your BIA. And then in the 8th to the 9th month, you can validate and review. And in the 10th to the 12th month, you certify and continue to improve. And the certification journey, first you select your certification body. This is the body that will send you an auditor, and it's usually in a 2-stage. Stage 1 is document review, to review that all your documentation align with the requirement of the standard. Then stage 2 is the actual audit, which is evidence-based. And then after the stage 2 audit, the certification body makes a decision whether to issue you a certificate or not, or to certify you. And then you enter a 3-year cycle where you have surveillance every the 2nd and the 3rd year. And in the 4th year, if you're still interested in maintaining your certification, then you go for what is called recertification. So the key takeaways and your next steps, if you are interested to go this route, set your strategy, get your BIA done, and of course, you have to test progressively. That's very important. I forgot to mention that. Very, very important. If you set a lofty business business continuity management system and that you've never tested, it's as good as it is not existence. So you must test your business continuity management system. There are different strategies. You can use tabletop exercise. You can simulate stuff. You don't have to do the actual one if your environment doesn't allow that. But at least once in every year, you should do like an actual full scale testing. And then after that, you put all your system in place. Then you get your certification process started with the different stage 1 and stage 2 audit. And then you continually improve your system. Okay, so that is what I have to present to us this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please, can we give our facilitator a virtual clap for that wonderful presentation and insight? Thank you so much, Yinka, for um, sharing, for the clear and structured breakdown of ISO 22301. So maybe you've never come across the standard before, or as being called a requirement. Now you have, an insight to what ISO 22301 expects from organization, especially when it comes to um, building an audit-ready BCMS systems for your organization. Just like what Yinka said, it is not a mandatory um, certification or for you to be certified to BCMS. You can implement it and just adopt it as a management systems when it comes to business continuity for your organization. But if you want to take it further and ensure that ensure what we call practical alignment, then you can get certified by an external certification body, which is continuous, like a 3-year cycle. So you go through the first stage as the initial stage, surveillance for 2 years, and then you recertify like that. So it's an ongoing process. And the reason is because it helps you continue to improve your business continuity management system. So thank you very much, and Adinka, for that insightful presentation. Okay, so now we are going to shift from framework to execution, right? And our second session focuses on how organization, can rationalize, business continuity using the Business Continuity Institute Good Practice Guidelines, which we call the BCI GPG. I'm sure many of us, haven't heard about it, and that's why you're on this call to gain insight into what the framework is all about. So it's my pleasure to introduce our next facilitator, Dr. Olubide Orlando, who is going to take us through this practical lens. So he is an enterprise IT and cybersecurity consultant. He's also the managing partner at A4S, leading organizations across Africa, the United Kingdom, and Canada. With over 25 years of experience, he is an expert in governance, risk, and compliance, management systems, and enterprise architecture, having led over 1,000 initiatives across multiple sectors. He's also the CEO of Training Heights and founder of Transformation College, where he provides free training in entrepreneurship, business management, software development, and also cybersecurity to empower individuals and build capacity. Wow, what a loaded man. Okay, so it's my pleasure to welcome Dr. Orlando on the call. Please, can we give him a warm welcome? Let me see your virtual claps. Are we there? Let's
Brilliant.
make know he's welcome. Yeah, thank you, Frank.
Good.
Thank you, thank you,
All right.
thank you. Oh, thank you, everyone. Thank you very much. Over to you, Doctor.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Bukola. I hope you can hear me clearly, though.
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, brilliant. All right, brilliant. So, Prof, thank you very much. That's what we like to call Mr. Inga that just completed this session. We like to call him Prof. So, big thank you to you, Prof. And this is what Prof was talking about. Today is not the day where we can go into everything that is captured on my screen. So, you can see 26 sub clauses in there. And we can spend an entire week just going through. And ideally, if you're going for the lead implementer training, we're going to go through these 26 sub clauses. What do they mean? How are you going to implement them? What is the evidence that the auditor is going to be looking for? And many other things as it is. So there's a lot in here for you to know, so you can take a screenshot and you can go start. You can go back to your organization and start to think about it to say, how am I going to do this? How am I going to implement this? How am I going to ensure that this whole thing is working in my own organization? As I said, once again, this is what he was saying to all of us. The thing is loaded, right? If you look at some of the areas that are put in red, those are difficult things for organizations to achieve. I'm certain that in my lifetime, I've worked with maybe more than 200 organizations just working across this particular standard. And there's so many things in there that you have to really take into consideration, especially if you want a fully functional business continuity management system and you don't fall into all sorts of issues and challenges as it is. So as I said, everybody, you can take a screenshot from here. You can go back home or to your office, as the case may be, and you can think through this properly and ensure that you get this right. So once again, Prof, thank you very much for taking us through this. So this is not my conversation for today. But mine is a different conversation, and I'll go through just a few slides in 15 minutes. I'll be done, so to speak. So the first thing I want everybody to go into the chat room. This is my thinking when it comes to business continuity. So I tell my clients that they have to think about business continuity from 5 different perspectives. This is from me. I haven't copied this from anywhere. This is not Chat GPT. This is not AI. This is not something I saw in a book or somewhere. This is something that I created from working with different clients just to understand the nature and the scope of their business continuity management system. So I mean, first is I call business continuity tested and validated or validated alternatives. That's the first thing that I call it. I call it tested and validated alternatives. And I say, it's contingency plans in the event of all sorts of things. That's what it is really from my perspective. And I've identified 5 layers that I think organizations should take into keen consideration. And I know that most organizations, when they think about business continuity, they primarily focus on number 4. And from my experience, right, it's almost like we all think about it. I mean, and it's understandable because I mean, everything is information technology driven or underpinned, so to speak. But I want everybody to go into the chat room and from your own knowledge, from your own experience, from your own perspective, very quickly, tell me the top 2 from your experience and from your perspective. I want you to put it in the chat room because I don't want to take too much time that you think organizations should be worried about. The top 2. I want everybody. Strategy being number 1, processes being number 2, people being number 3, technology systems and equipment being number 4, and facilities and offices being number 5. I want everybody to go in the chat room. Everybody, please do me a favor. And it's not just for you to pick 2, it's also for you to give me some kind of reason or justification why you pick your 2. Everybody, it's a quick exercise. I want us to do it in 2 minutes. Which of those 5 layers do you really think a bank in Canada or in any other part of the world, a, a telecommunications provider, an insurance company, even a manufacturing company, right? Whatever type of organization, which 2? Everybody in the chat room, very quickly, very, very quickly. So I'm not only asking for you to pick 2, I'm also asking, I want to actually learn from you. I'm also asking, what is the reason? Why are you picking these 2 that you've decided to as yours? Everybody, very quickly. So everybody, I want to go into the chat room. Which 2? Right? So everybody pick your 2. Pick your 2. I want everybody pick your 2. And give me the reason. Give me the reason. So Bala just picked all right. So Virgil says 1 and 3, people drive the strategies being developed. Wes Chandler says, which 2 or the 2 Chandler, the 2 that are most important from your experience. Thomas, Thomas says the loss of a supplier, external dependence, and loss of IT. So Thomas has picked his. Bukolas picked hers. People, tech, right? Edith has picked hers. Strategy, people. Who else? Can I hear from 2 or 3 others? Thank you very much, Wes. Thank you, Balaji. Thank you very much, Chandler. All right. Right. From your perspective, which 2, any 2 that you think, which 2, right? As I said, my thinking is an organization, right? Uh, uh, Triakula says strategy is a starting point, and I mean, yeah, agree to an extent. And there's no real right or wrong answer. It's just from your perspective, and your perspective typically will be tied to your own experience of where you're coming from, what you've done in the past, and things like that. So can I get one or two others? I want to leave this and move on to something else. All right, very quickly. Can I just get one or two others from your own experience? Which two do you think organizations should really worry about? Right? When it comes to business continuity, the top two, I dare say that the five of them are very important. You can't go to a bank or telecommunications provider and say, oh, ignore this. No, I don't think it's possible for you to ignore any of them. I'm just saying that which two will you prioritize? So maybe that's a better way for me to put it. Like you say, the five of them are important. I don't think, I mean, that goes without saying. The five of them are actually very important. That goes without saying. But which two will you prioritize? I agree with you. All of them are important. Actually, completely agree with you, uh, Tiakira. All of them are important. I was just asking for, like, should I say, in a sense, the priority? Yeah. If you had to pick the first two, yeah, and I mean, once again, Chandler, thank you. Innovation, you need to run with it. Right. You're right. Brown says one and two. Right. Okay, good. Tyler says strategy is the foundation. Right. Okay, good. All right. So once again, everybody, thank you very much. I do think all the five of them are important. I don't think that in any modern organization, except you're like a fintech, a startup that works from home, that you can take out number five. If you're an organization that does not have a physical office, then you can definitely take out number five as it is. But if you're an organization that you've got a physical office, you're in downtown Toronto or wherever it is that you're in, then the five of them are important. Of course, the priorities might be different because it also depends on the level of maturity in your own organization. But the five of them are very important, and I don't think any modern organization, if it's an insurance company, if it's a bank, if it's a telecommunications provider, and definitely all government offices and public service type organizations, they have to think about the five. And this, if you're going to take one thing away from here today, this should be it. The fact that most organizations and even practitioners of business continuity management, they treat some of these areas in isolation. I was seated with the chief risk officer of an organization last year, and I was telling him about number one, and he actually, and this is a massive bank. And he said to me, he said, oh, you know what? I've thought about everything that you put on the screen, but I've never really thought about number one. That the way we think about think about business continuity and resilience, and the way we've never really thought about it. That what about if our main strategy does fail? What are we going to do? And this is the chief risk officer of a huge organization, and I do think a lot of people have to get number one right. But most business continuity persons and institutions and even professionals, they never really think about number one. A lot of people take number two into keen consideration. That's important relative to the products, the processes that underpin your products and services. That's important. I think a lot of people do that. I'm not really sure about number three, especially when it comes to succession plans. When you also know that when it comes to succession plans, it's not just about the existence of a plan; it's also about the testing of that plan. I've seen organizations that say that, oh, if I'm not available, this guy can do my job, but the guy might not have the skills or have the capabilities or have even the decision making capabilities to do the job. And in some weird cases, it doesn't even have the username and password to some critical system. So, how's the person you're naming as your a successor, especially when you go and leave? People are also thinking about the succession plan means that when you've left the organization, but that's also very important, especially when you go and leave or you're just unavailable because you're ill or something else. So that's very important. Of course, most organizations take number four into consideration. So I think the places, I mean, facilities, yes, there may be a few organizations, but I think most organizations, when they think about business continuity, they kind of focus on number two and number four. Once again, share your thoughts in the chat room. I think most organizations just focus on number two and number four, and those two are very important. However, I definitely do think the organizations should look at number one and number three. Number one and number three, I definitely think those are areas that, with all the business continuity documents and organizations and certifications that we go through, those are two areas that I do think companies need to focus on. And of course, number five is very important, especially if you have a physical office. Right. So once again, you can give me your thoughts and your opinion in the chat room. But I think most people kind of think about two and four, but most people kind of ignore one and three. And those are areas, some people might even call them the soft side of things. They might even call them the soft side of things. But the soft side of things are sometimes even way more important than the hard side of things. And of course, if you're in a manufacturing plant, if you're in aviation, number five is non-negotiable. I mean, you physically need a physical, you need those things if you're going to be working, if you're ever going to get anywhere. So once again, if you take nothing out of this my session, please take this away and use this as the basis for thinking about business continuity in your own organization, right? So once again, share your thoughts, share your opinion in the chat room. Um, this is not something that was, I mean, it's my thought and my opinion that comes from my own experience. Feel free to disagree or feel free to agree, whichever of those things work for you. But yeah, this is important. If you're building business continuity for your own organization, no matter how big or how small, you have to think through these layers. You really have to think through these layers. I'll move on very quickly. Okay, good. So, how many people have heard of this organization? How many persons? And I think everybody should open this website. So, just type BCI into the chat room, into on your on your computer, Business Continuity Institute, right? And they've been around for a very long time, right? I mean, I have known about these organizations for about 20 years, so I'm sure they've been around way longer than that. But I mean, knowing the organization and and the documents that they provide and things, at least it's about maybe 21 or 22 years to be very precise, about 22 years that I've known this organization. And so I think everybody should open their website. I think there is a free plan that they have. I pay X amount of money for my subscription to this organization every year because they create all sorts of great documents. I'm also certified to the exams. I did that a very long time ago. I can't even remember any longer. But I pay my annual dues because I just want to keep being updated around various things that they do. So you can try to create a login. They used to have a free tier login that doesn't cost any amount of money, and you still have access to a couple of things. So you can try check it out and try to look at it. And maybe you can, even if you're not willing to spend your money like I do on a membership and pay me every year, you will still get some nice resources from the free tier. So, but they're great organization. Globally, there are only two big organizations when it comes to Business Continuity Institute. It's BCI, and then the other one is this organization. Yes, the other one is this organization called DRI International. So this is DRII. I used to be a member of DRI before I even became a member of BCI. But I knew about BCI before I knew about DRI. But I had a friend who was like the country representative for this organization, and he just convinced me, and I had to become a certified member of this organization. And they've got their own documentation, DRII. So you can check them out. You can open a browser. So those are like the two organizations globally, right? So everybody, who have you heard of, right? Have you heard of BCI or you heard of DRII? But I think in terms of research and updates and all sorts of other things, even global adoption, I think, and I might be wrong, I think BCI is winning the race. I think BCI is more global and has a more global appeal. And I might be wrong. So you can share your thoughts and your opinion in the chat room, especially for some of you that are very familiar with them. Okay, good. So I'm only going to, as I said, it's a short meeting from my side, so I'm going to make it very quick. They have this document. This is the seventh version, and I believe it's still the most updated version of the good practice guidelines. We like to call it the GPG, GPG, good practice guidelines. That's what it's called. And the two key portions to this, there's the inner circle here, right? There's the inner circle that is there where you can see embracing business continuity, and then it goes through some kind of cycle. It's a circle that goes through a cycle, right? So it starts with, so you have to do establishing the BCMS and analyses and solution design and enabling solutions and then validation. And those are processes that you keep going doing over and over again. So it's a circle here, but there's a cycle inside of it for establishing your BCMS. But that's not really my focus today. My focus is here. Okay. So I have some experts supposedly on the call, so maybe they can share their thoughts. Over the last few years, they've only kept this thing at number 10. In the new version, it goes all the way to number 10. That's what they've done. So they have those surrounding uh circles, the surrounding circles that are here, they have them as risk, HR, emergency crisis, health and safety, facility management, physical security, information security, communications, and recently they added the supply chain. Recently they added supply chain to it. I think in version 6 there was no supply chain, I believe, but in version 7 there's supply chain. And the things in yellow, they're from me. That's my thinking around what unit or department needs to be involved with this in an organization. What units and what departments, from my experience, should be involved with all these things. So I put those things in yellow. I just typed it out because I was going through a training for one of our clients and I was explaining how they can't think about business continuity in a silo. They have to involve everybody in the organization when it comes to business continuity. But that if they're following through with this, and the global document says you should look at those 10 cycles here, and those 10 areas. You have to think about who's going to do them, who's going to be working with you. The big challenge that I see for organizations is that the business continuity manager or the business continuity team think that they need to do number 1 to 10. They believe that everything between number 1 to 10 sits with them. So it's almost like they've done all these things in isolation without working with the actual units and departments that should be involved. And I've seen this over and over again. I've even seen doing an audit where I would insist that they call somebody from a certain department. And then the person comes and says that, you know what, the guys on this team never worked with me. They never came to me. So especially for number 9. They'll say that we don't even know what they're doing. Or they have a document and they never worked with people in number 7. Or they never worked with the people in number 5 or number 6 because I didn't write this. This is a global document. This is not me putting number 1 to 10 there. The global document says that all these areas have to be dealt with. But if you're going to deal with it, especially in an enterprise, there's certain units and departments in the organization that have the operational responsibility for number 1 to 10, at least with the exception of 3 and 4. Maybe with the exception of 3 and 4. But there are units and departments in the organization that own number 1, number 2, number 5, number 6, number 7, number 8, number 9, number 10. There are actual units and departments that own it. So why is it that the persons who practice business continuity, is almost like we end up wanting to practice it uh, on behalf of all the operational owners rather than liaising with them and aligning with them? Once again, I want everybody to share their thoughts in the chat room. Why is it that business continuity experts or implementers that do these things in organizations, why is it that we want to do 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 without necessarily working with the operational owners and the departmental leads and representatives? Because there's not a lot when it comes to 4, 5, 6, 7. We're just coordinating because the actual implementation for those areas are going to be done by the operational people. With business continuity professionals are just coordinating work, working with these organizations, with these departments and units. So maybe you can share your thoughts in the chat room. Why do we work like that? It's almost like we want to own business continuity completely, and we want to own it at the detriment of working with people that sit in the risk department, enterprise risk, HR department, occupational health and safety facilities, and all the others. So once again, I want everybody to share their thoughts. Why the practitioners of business continuity, why do we operate? Why do we like to operate in silos sometimes without necessarily working with others? So we care about business continuity. We own number three. I agree. We, the business continuity people, we own three and we own four. But we have to work with others to achieve 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, and 1 and 2. And even the 3 and 4, we must still work with other units and departments. So my point here is the global document says that business continuity cannot be done in isolation. And that's important for all of us to know. So once again, share your thoughts in the chat room. When I get off the screen, I will read your comments. I definitely want to hear from everybody. My second question on this page, everybody, they've been revising this document for about 20 years, at least that I have known it. Why is it that they still have not put in number 11? Can somebody help me with an explanation in the chat room? How is it that they've picked all these areas? They've even picked number 8 as key areas to be considered for business continuity. But till this day, there's nothing in the good practice guideline that specifically picks information systems or information technology, whichever of those naming conventions you prefer. Why? Health and safety is an area in the organization. Facilities is an area. Physical security is an area. Should we make an assumption that they're thinking that number 8 and number 11 are the same? They're not the same. They can't be the same. Number 11 is owned by the CIO. Number 8 is owned by CISO. So why is it that with the consistent and the continuous upgrade of this global document, number 11 is not specifically captured as one of these areas? I want some opinion in the chat room. Why? Why? I want some opinion in the chat room. Prof, if you're still on the call, everybody, I want your opinion. Why? Because I don't understand how they keep revising the document. They can actually put number 8 in there. They can even put number 9. They added number 10. Number 10 was not in the version of this document that existed prior to now. But number 11, which is what I included myself, it's not in the document. That's my inclusion. It's still not captured till date. Hey, why? Which is where the CIO or head IT, whatever that name, IT, whatever naming convention. Why is it that this is what I call a Dr. Orlando's inclusion. So you won't find it anywhere. I just included it because I've been waiting for this new version, and then the new version came, and still it's not captured. Why? So if I go to the chat room, let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Okay. So West says he's all right. Okay, good. So Thomas, right? I mean, I don't understand. Wes, why you can even speak if you want, because this goes beyond my understanding. Information systems and technology, which is critical, is consistently skipped. So, I mean, can I hear from others? Really? Right? So I really want to, because even I don't have an answer. I don't have an answer why number 11 is not captured. So, can I get 1 or 2 people just to share their thoughts? How do you write 1 to 10, but you consider, yeah, Prof. So, it's supporting, but there are many other things that are also supporting. You can't even do 8, indeed, because most of our data and information, they don't rest on paper. They're digital, they're electronic. So how come you're interested in Number 8, which is meant to be dealing mostly with the security of digital and electronic systems. And you don't talk about the digital and electronic platforms that keep and capture and process everything that is important to us. So, anyways, it's something that I'm still confused. Yeah, but it's more than uh, everything digital is more than supported. I don't agree that this is supported, right? Because you and I can barely get anything done without technology. That means Zoom. That means my computer. That means Microsoft Office. That means Office 365. That means routers. That means ERP systems. That means SharePoint. That means everything is tied to number 11. That means the entire concept of disaster recovery in itself, right? IT disaster recovery, that whole IT disaster recovery thing is also here. The entire IT disaster recovery is also here. So how can we skip something this important? Because this is not supporting. This is more than supporting. The entire modern day organization is dependent on IT systems. So it's definitely more than just supporting as far as I'm concerned. So maybe somebody who's got a relationship with them can share this conversation with them. That I think it's high time, right? I definitely think it's high time. Thank you, Bukola. I definitely think it's high time that they take all this. Supply the supply chain. No, it's not fully covered under supply chain, right? It's not fully covered under supply chain. Thank you, Thomas. So, anyways, once again, those are the two key things because it's a brilliant document. It's a brilliant document. It even covers areas that the ISO standard does not touch on because the ISO standard does not look at everything here. ISO the standard does not cover number 5. It doesn't really even mention anything around that. It leaves it to your discretion and to your scope. ISO standards don't say anything specifically around 5, around 6, around 7, around 8. It doesn't say anything about those things. It just leaves it to you that, well, you should figure out what exactly is within your scope in itself. An ISO standard in itself does not necessarily cover number 11. Okay. It definitely doesn't cover 10 also. So please take this away. I mean, it's a big conversation. If you're going to be thinking about business continuity, and you will see that this kind of aligns to what I said earlier. It kind of aligns to what I said earlier that an organization needs to think about business continuity from multiple perspectives. So here you can see HR in here, right? You can see physical security and even facilities around number 5. So it kind of aligns, and of course, a lot of those all those other things, you can put them under number 2. Okay. So once again, please take this away. Go and ask your colleagues, ask other experts that you know that with all these beautiful areas uh, that have been captured, I mean, we can't even say it's randomly done because it stopped at 9 in version 6, and in version 7, it is moved from 9 to 10 around the circle in the middle. So I can't say it's not intentional. It is definitely intentional. There was no supply chain in version 6 of this thing. But now there's supply chain added to it intentionally. So you can't ignore it. You can't treat it lightly. It's important. So if you're going to do this for your organization and you're going to get it right, you better think about it from numbers 1 to 11. You should think about this from numbers 1 to 11. Okay. Very quickly, there's another document. This is the first time they've written this document. It's also from BCI, right? This is the first time. There's only version 1 of this document that exists. They haven't upgraded it, so it's a brand new thing from them. It's a brand new thing from BCI, the resilience framework, and this is like the elder brother or the elder cousin of GPG. So it's almost like they've now written something that is even, should I say, at a higher level, right? When you're thinking about resilience in itself, a much bigger, broader document. It's like a wide document. Like what I'll say that it's just like a covering, so to speak. And in there are 8 principles. Okay, so this is what I've tried to summarize the entire document on a single page. That's what I have done. I've summarized the whole document onto a single page. So you can take a screenshot and go back to your organization. And so, resilience framework, right? We talked about it, the aim of resilience. They've even defined what resilience is. So it's almost like resilience, as I said, is like a bigger, broader bucket in comparison to business continuity. So they've defined it, they've talked about the framework and all that. They've even, if you look it to my right, they even have something there on why resilience, right? And if you look at the book to my right, they also have organizations can only be more or less resilient. There's no absolute measure, right? And they've also written 7 other things that an organization should think about. But at the center, these are the principles. So the document provides some guidelines on how you should implement these 8 principles. It does that. It provides some guidelines. So one of the questions that a client of mine asked me was that if I was going to come to review their organization, what will I review them against? I'll review them relative to numbers 1 to 8 in the middle. I'll be looking for evidence that they have to confirm if these principles have been adopted within their organization. That's what I'll be looking for. The evidence to confirm, because I spend a lot of my time only doing 2 things, auditing organizations and also delivering training classes. So I'll be looking to confirm if they have validated evidence, tangible evidence, measurable evidence relative to numbers 1 to 8. So, for example, are there executives involved? Number one. Okay. All right. Number two, the objective and even the desired or required outcomes, are they clearly captured in itself? Is it a living document? These outcomes, how do we ascertain if the outcomes are being captured every month, every quarter, half year, full year? And they're very clear on the concept of outcomes, not outputs. So everybody, you can go into ChatGPT and say, what will be some business continuity outputs and what will be some business continuity outcomes? You can ask any AI system that. Business continuity outputs versus business continuity outcomes. And because if an organization has implemented business continuity, then there should be some outcomes, some measurable outcomes that we can go back to review every month or every quarter. If you look at the third one, it says that the current state, have you adequately taken into consideration where the organization is as of today? The current state of the organization. Very important. Number four, are they taking a risk-based approach? Once again, that's a prioritization conversation, because they might not be able to do everything, but there's some things that are more important than others. And that's what we mean by risk-based. The ones with the highest threats, typically. But in modern day, you should also be thinking about the ones with the highest opportunities for growth, opportunities for expansion, because the definition of risk is both a threat and an opportunity. If you look at number 5, is it coherent and is it collaborative? And I think I've already covered the conversation of collaborating with other units and departments. If you look at number 6, right, a set of strategies and even associated solutions. So if I come to an organization, some operational solutions, and your solutions could be all sorts, from cloud provider to alternative agreements to work from home, all sorts of things. And so I'll be looking for evidence around that. And then if you go to number 7, it just says that, the ability to adapt. Are they taking the business continuity or the resilience from the perspective like this is a one-time thing, it's never going to change, which is how most organizations look at it. They show documents that were created 2-3 years ago. They show risk assessment registers that, are barely updated. And then look at number 8, is that is this always cyclical? So I will be. If you look in the actual document, there's full-blown interpretation of numbers 1 to 8, full-blown, and some guidance in terms of what an organization should be doing if they want to really ensure that they're resilient. But of course, that's why we started with Prof's conversation. If you haven't done this, I dare say, if you haven't done this, everybody, then we really shouldn't be talking about resilience, because the assumption is that you've done this, that you've already put business continuity in place, and now you're trying to take business continuity to the next level, specifically almost in alignment with 10.2, everybody, in alignment with 10.2. So to enhance your 10.2, right, to take it further for you as an organization, you need to take this into keen consideration, being number one, and you need to take this into consideration, being number 2. Okay? So if you look at the last 7 on my right, it's really talking about an organization's resilience and the ways by which you can also check if they're resilient, apart from just the principles. So how quickly do they adapt to change? How quickly can they, or how can they guarantee that they will continue operating when other organizations in their industry cannot operate? Once again, the conversation of risk management. I also like resilience here because it brings the conversation around number 4, something that a lot of people don't take into consideration. Financial stability. People don't think about that. Look at number 5. Of course, a lot of people think about that. But not a lot of people think about number 6 and number 7. So you will see that the way people even conceptualize business continuity, they don't conceptualize business continuity around this. They don't really conceptualize business continuity around some of these areas. And that's why this resilience framework is beautiful. And it even makes a recommendation. If you look at the top, it says, understand your current state, assess where you are for enterprise resilience, develop coherence and collaboration, the approach to what you're doing, manage your strategies and solutions, be able to adapt, then assess, review, learn, and improve. So you should take the screenshot once again. Most of us that are thinking, though, that some of the people on this call, you practice business continuity, but you can't really tell me if you've really thought about the ability for the organization to operate when all the others that are in their industry or that are their direct competition cannot. You've thought about financial stability as part of business continuity. You've also thought about marketing advantages as part of business continuity, and then protecting shareholder value. These are huge conversations. These are massive conversations that are beyond just business continuity. Right. So that's it for me. There's so many other things I can say, but we don't have the time for that today. I'm always asking people that, I read some business continuity manuals and all sorts of things, and I ask people that, is there a gun to your head that you must use all these words? That you can't use everything in your manual. You have to pick 2 or 3 or 4 maximum. The manual becomes very confusing if you start to use every word that is here. And that's what people do. They'll use the word event, they'll use the word incident, they'll use hazard, all in the same business continuity document. And you have to really think about what it is that you're doing as an organization. There's some of these things that apply to companies, some of them even apply to an entire state or an entire province or an entire country in itself. And so the way the government will use these words when they're thinking nationally is probably different from how an organization will be using these words. And there's a lot of thinking that needs to be included in there. Right. Anyways, Thank you very much, everyone. I will leave you with this. I can't remember who I was working with, but I identified these 10 areas. Uh, Key things that I think an organization should do. Once again, you can take a screenshot. I focused mostly on the business, on the ISO 22301. Many things that an organization should do. I just put them as the top 10, so to speak, that will help. And if you fail in one of these areas, then you're going to really have a problem with business continuity. Once again, take a screenshot, everybody, so that I can stop sharing. Once again, you can share your thoughts, give me your opinion, and all that in the chat room. Okay? Good, good, good. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening to me. I'm also learning to get better when it comes to business continuity. It's not like I'm an expert or anything like that. And the resilience in itself, as you and I have learned, is not an absolute. It's either you become more resilient or less resilient. So there's nothing absolute. There's a lot for all of us to learn if we're going to help our organizations or our clients to become better when it comes to business continuity. Once again, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for your time. I'm grateful to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow, wow. That was a wonderful insight and presentation. Please, let's appreciate our facilitator, Dr. Orlando, for that highly practical and insightful presentation, right? Particularly the emphasis on embedding continuity into our day-to-day operations. Please, let's appreciate our facilitators. Thank you so much, Doctor, for sharing that very insightful, deep presentation. Okay, quickly, because of our time, we are going to move to our Q&A segment. Thank you to everyone who has been engaging so far in this conversation. So we are going to take questions now where we're going to address as many as we can within the time that we have. So please, if you have questions, you can raise your hand and I would give you a go ahead to mute yourself and speak, or you can just drop it in the chat room and I would take it up from there. Any questions? Okay, so while I'm waiting for questions, I would like to, ask our facilitators one question. I'll start off with a question that says, for organizations just starting out, what would you advise or what would be your recommendation? Should they begin with ISO 22301 or the BCI GPG framework? Doctor or Prof, any of you can, who wants to answer the question?
I'm sure Prof, Prof will share his thoughts, but I mentioned it during my presentation. You should definitely start with 22301 and then graduate to the best practice. The standards in themselves are a subset of the best practice in itself. So I think so that you should start. And the standards are, I dare say that the standards are easier, so to speak, than the best practice. The best practice has so many things that it'll take a much longer period for you to get there. But yeah, the Prof, please go ahead.
Yeah, so thank you, Doctor, for a very, very loaded and insightful presentation. And I share your sentiment as well. Standards are easy to follow. It's if you look at the best practice also, it also refers to the standard. So it kind of give you a very solid foundation, no matter the size of your organization, and it can be scaled to any size of organization. So that's why, I mean, like I mentioned in my presentation, you don't have to go for certification if you can't afford it. But when you have a solid foundation in putting in place a resilient system, then that will give you confidence to scale it. The standard is about continual improvement. So like I mentioned, start where you are with what you have, and then you begin to go for, the maturity that you want to get to.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Any questions from our audience? Please feel free to drop your questions in the chat. This is a great opportunity for us to, get direct insight from our expert on the call. Do we have any questions? Let me check the chat room. Okay. Thank you, Thomas, for your
And
appreciation.
another thing that I would like also to mention, Doctor was the closing remark for what Dr. Orlando mentioned. Don't make your implementation complicated.
Mm.
You don't have to have tons of policy, even when you want to get certified, right? I know sometimes auditors may make, they may be making some unnecessary demands and all of that. Sorry for the choice of word that are unnecessary, but just even if you want to certify, look at the standard. The standard states mandatory requirement, and it will always tell you that documented information for this is necessary to the extent that the organization deems fit. So you don't have to have tons of very heavy document policies that nobody reads, that nobody reviews. Your context is very important. Design your system to fit your context, to fit your organization. You don't have to, in the words of a doctor, use all the big words that nobody understands. Make it simple. Your policy can be user-friendly. If nobody understands your policy, then it's not working. When it is time to implement the business continuity, nobody understands what you have said, what you have written, right? So make it simple, make it practical, and make it accessible. That's what I like to say.
Wow, thank you, thank you, thank you. Just like we have heard, do not complicate it, right? Make it simple and practical. So just as we wrap up here, I would like us to remember, I'm sure that all of us have taken notes, but just to, reiterate what our speakers have said in very, simple sentences. Let's remember that ISO 22301 provides the governance structure for a resilient organization. So even if your organization is not working towards getting certified, right, you can adopt it, because it provides a governance structure for a resilience organization. Also, when it comes to the BCI GPG, that also helps organizations, bring that structure to life through practical execution, like what the doctor shared. It touches key areas of our business processes, operations, right? And it can also include your IT, even though it's not on the framework, but the IT and infrastructures. So we need to take it from today that, when we combine both 22301 and, the BCI GPG, both of them enables organization being combined together, right? Enable organization to move beyond compliance into true operational resilience, right? So that's it for today. And I hope that it was worth our time. And we're not going to just stop here. We're going to take the lessons and implement them for organizations, or if you're a consultant, you'll also be able to guide your clients also in this line. So that's it for today's session. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to our facilitators for taking your time to share from your wealth of knowledge on the two subject matter that we discussed today. So beyond today's session, we want to take it a step further. As certified GRC, we are a compliance consulting and tech company. And currently, we are building a platform that helps organizations simplify, how they implement and manage frameworks like ISO 22301 and cybersecurity without the usual complexity. And currently, we are onboarding, a select group of organizations into our exclusive wait list, right? Which gives you early access to our live products. Demo next month is happening next month. When you also sign up, you get a 30-day full access pass to the platform. And it's also an opportunity to see how you can operationalize, cybersecurity in alignment with NIST CSF in a much efficient and scalable way. So if that's of interest to your organizations at the moment, we encourage you to sign up and secure your spot. We'll be sharing the wait list link in the chat shortly. So please look out for the link in the chat room. And we're going to also share it, via emails when we share the recordings and also the materials, the presentations used today. Also, you're going to get a certificate of attendance participation for attending today's webinar. So I want to say thank you to everyone for joining us today. We usually have, webinar events almost every month. So you could, follow us on our link, follow us on LinkedIn or Instagram to get access, to updates on any events we'll be having in the coming months. Thank you very much, and please do enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you again to our facilitators for, sharing from your wealth of knowledge. Thank you for your time today. We really, really appreciate you. Thank you so much.